Hey, it's NATO. Doing something a little bit different today. I'm not talking about politics or anything, doing a policy or anything like that. At least not right now. And so I'm kind of in a different vibe. I want to be a little bit more personal in this one, so people who are gonna start watching these have an idea of who they're talking to. Okay. Um, for some of you guys who already know me, I have Asperger's, which is a form of autism on the higher end of this up of the functioning spectrum. The show The Good Doctor is actually showcasing a person with Asperger's in a highly, highly professional field. And for some people like that, that's great. It's atypical for people with Asperger's to be in something like that. Usually the social awkwardness makes that type of stuff almost impossible. Not impossible, but pretty close. For the other people who don't know what Asperger's is, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not being crazy. Crazy is this. Hey, let's go steal the neighbor's car and go rob a bank. They'll think it was the neighbor. Dude, can I go park the car back and leave the money in it and call the cops? We'd be heroes. That's psychotic. That's not Asperger's. That's not autism. Someone with Asperger's will come into a room and be like, hey, who wants to learn how gravity works? Because that's what the shit we're thinking about. All right? That's what interests us. You show us a porno mag, we'd be like, well, there's very little content in here. We wouldn't understand, especially when I was really young. Like, okay, sure, whatever. I knew what it was, but for people with Asperger's, maybe even me specifically, because I'm maybe a little bit more of a prude, but there's no connection there, so it does nothing for me. Um, it's just one of those weird things. People with Asperger's are all very, very unique and different in those things. Um, we're not very good at making eye contact, as you will probably tell from this video. Actually, I really don't know where to look on this thing to not make it look weird. But like I said, when we come in and try to explain to you how gravity works, we can do that, but we're not going to be able to look you in the eye while we do it. It's just it's not that we think you're ugly, at least not for most of you. It's just that it doesn't work for us. Looking in your eyes, um, it's just one of those things that we just don't do for very much. Sometimes we're really subconscious about it, and we'll try to. But to each their own. Some people who don't have Asperger's also don't like to look people in the eyes very long. It's just a thing, man. Welcome to the human condition. But so what I end up doing is, and people with Asperger's usually do, is we will explain to you how the infinite wonders of the universe work, but we will do it from the position of a cat in a YouTube video chasing around a laser pointer all over the place. That's just us. Um, it's okay. We know it's weird, but if you know anyone else who has Asperger's, you're pretty sure I'm pretty sure you already know that that's going to be par for the course. Another thing about us is sometimes what we're trying to say doesn't really come out the way we want it to. Like I was trying to explain to someone one time about how people are drawn to them. People, they come into a room, people are like, oh, I want to go talk to that person, and that's was true. But I kind of explained it to them how it's like being drawn in by a light, and I ended up comparing them to a bug zapper. And that's like the quickest way to get blocked from all social media. I think it was a matter of 30 seconds, actually. Quite fascinating. But yeah, not so much fun. Also, we try to compare things. Our minds are really associative, so we compare things. We add analogies all the time. And I try to compliment someone as being a more beautiful and funnier version of Amy Schumer, but apparently those are both very, very low bars, and they didn't take it as a compliment, even though I thought, oh, Amy Schumer, she's been on TV a lot, and people think she's cute, but me personally, I think she's average. Other person I thought was way better looking and way funnier, so I was being honest to a fault. But apparently that did not go over so well either. But you know what? At least they know where I stand. Like I think you're attractive and funny. How is that an insult? I guess it is. If I guess if someone with Asperger's or autism thinks you're attractive, I guess that can be kind of unflattering. Uh, but some crazy wacko who thinks robbing banks in their neighbors' cars fun. They seem to get all the girls. They seem to get all the action, at least all the fun stuff up ahead. Um, it ends up biting him in the ass though later on because police records and shit. But yeah. But with the Asperger's, we people with it, we see things way differently than everyone else. It's just a very different world. Like for politics and policy, I relate things according to where they've happened in the past. And I used to teach economics and I used to teach history at a community college. And what I did is because from my historical and my educational background, I started from ancient Greek mythology and philosophy, and I followed human history throughout the time period, studying all those sciences: psychology, philosophy, sociology, biology, a lot of medical. I wanted to become a doctor at one point, so I mean, I was going really far advanced in chemistry when I was like 8. So I was really, really far ahead in that stuff. I actually got in trouble once because I took some pure potassium pellets and tried to show students like when I was in school, like younger school, how I could be Mario and like throw fireballs. Well, when you set snow on fire, and water puddles on fire in the playground, they don't appreciate that. So don't. This FYI. But so I mean, I've really tried to learn all that stuff, and I take the timelines with Asperger's. It's a four-dimensional understanding. We apply one field to the other. So when I was studying the history of economics and different economic trends and how it changed them, I correlated that with what the historical trends were globally. And so I was able to take a historical event, map the economics, or take an economic event and map the political and cultural history of that time period. And I was able to make a chart, and I can actually pick that up and find other parts of economic history or human history where the correlating part fits and lay out the economic or the historical aspect, and it follows almost as a logical proof. So it's a way I was trying to forecast future possible events through this economic or historical current events, um, as they unfold, what the economics could mean for that. And I've had a lot of standpoints and views against the United States and for the United States. I've been pro and con against American behaviors on a domestic and international scene for a long time, and my views really haven't changed on any of it. But the platforms themselves, like the party platforms, have just gone apeshit nuts. So I'm having some challenges with my political identity because I always used to consider myself a raging social liberal on everything. Um, because I want everyone to have equal rights. What's going on now, from what I can see, is they have equal rights, but now they want more. So I'm getting into a point to where it's no longer that equality that I seeked out. It's something different, but I'm not a liberal or a Democrat if I don't believe in that. So I'm struggling with that right now, and some of my videos are going to be coming up. We're talking about that, and that's what I'll be wearing, the nice suit and tie, and I'll usually have some nice background because I'm in some fancy building because I've been working on some policy thing all day long. But no, like I get fixated on things, and like I get fixated on cars. I like cars. I like the history of them. I like older ones because I like the time period that they're from. It's not necessarily the car itself, but when I drive like an old '60s car, I've studied the time period so much that I actually feel it. I can when I watch TV and I can see there's a scene somewhere, even though I'm not physically there, because I know what that environment's like, I can smell it. I can hear the background noises. I can feel the cold air in an alley. I can feel the dry heat in the desert. I can smell the rust of the barrels. I can smell the ash. I can smell the it because my brain is so associative that it brings it all up current, so I can feel it as if I'm there. It puts virtual reality to shame, and I feel bad for anyone who can't actually experience stuff that way that I do. So like even playing video games, like if you ever play, I play Call of Duty a lot. The different areas, I can smell it, I can feel it. It's really immersive for me, so I have to like limit my playing on that type of stuff because it's almost like I went through it personally, and that's more therapy than I need. I do a lot of comedy with stuff because comedy's cheaper than therapy. And anyone who's actually followed me for a while personally knows that my comedy is a little weird. I talk about like being having Asperger's, and I talk about relationships and just the crazy stuff I've had to deal with people because I have some really weird experiences with because I'm always out there, very very energetic in social situations, and that's usually like a nuclear bomb on most people's nights out because I even myself don't know how I'm going to react. I only go off of what I know from watching videos and movies and reading books of how you're supposed to interact in a certain situation. So if I don't know how to, that's gonna be, it's bad. But I don't know how to interact. I don't know. It's pretty detrimental to me and everyone else's night out. But hey, it's a good story later on. And from what they've told me, they've had some pretty interesting stories recapping the night out, riding around with me. And from the police departments across the country, they have some pretty good stories too. And I made some good friends along the way. And I want to just say, give a shout out to the men and women in blue. I love you guys. I like law enforcement. You guys are cool. My favorite law enforcement agency is the Secret Service. I've spent a lot of time with the Secret Service agents across the country in DC, New York, Iowa, the places I've gone working on political campaigns. I have a nice collection of Secret Service pens that most people don't get to have. But I'm pretty proud to say that I own them. I've even think in some ways I've earned them. I was a glorified door watcher a couple of times. So that was cool. Even got the earpiece and all that stuff. And I got threatened by an 80-year-old man to have me beaten into a bloody pulp. That was fun. So it was a good dollar earned for that day. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. I just want to give a little bit about who I am and what this is going to end up being like. I will try to have better lighting in the future things. It's just I'm getting this thing on the road. So thank you. I don't really have a closing yet. I'm still figuring that out, but I will say I wish everyone a good time. I wish everyone well, and peace out.